Welcome back to r/NPD. Today we'll be looking at two more cases that can help you understand how to deal with people outside of yourself. I'm Sophia, author, NLP practitioner, cognitive behavioural specialist. And without further ado, let's jump in. User MDD678 posts, only split when injured / atypical splitting. Just wondering what's up with this. I don't usually see people as great or terrible. They're just some person who was the same today as yesterday. But when injured, which takes nothing, I think they're complete blub and get mega upset with him for a while. Minus the fancy term is basically, you hurt my feelings, now I don't like you anymore. Also, when looking for a romantic partner, I sort of idealise, but not really, don't devalue, but do readily discard. Basically falling in between liking them and not wanting to talk to them anymore / blocking them on Facebook or whatever because they've done something to slight me. I also have trouble sustaining interest in someone I like and have moderate trouble bonding with them emotionally, but can still yet, when I do feel a sort of strange deep hurt inside me, like something is off or damaged, sort of like the fun of the chase / their company is the only real thing I enjoy. I feel empty inside most days. Also got empathy for others, but usually too self-absorbed to use it. I do idolise / devalue myself. Sometimes though, like I have these good traits versus I'm worth a scumbag, but I can't accept myself, so I'll delude myself even more. Who relates? What you're doing here, as I'm sure you've realised, is projecting into another person what you think they see in yourself. Them slighting you is a trigger for you to reassess the impression you leave upon them and use said slight to then evidence a negative opinion, thusly assuming that your position in their eyes is devalued. You explain it as best when you emphasise that they're hurting your feelings. More honest is the idea of the slight is likely the idea that they don't buy your BS or otherwise call you out on it or contradict you in some way, even if incredibly minor. It shows a lack of internal value. Instead of needing to derive your self-worth from the impressions of others, when you say that you'll delude yourself even more, you mean to return to the status quo. It's a lie you tell yourself to feel better, but at least you're evidencing with something tangible. But here's the thing, everybody lies. The difference between an honest man and a deceiver is simply that they lie to themselves or others. You discard others because you want to feed off that perfect impression of yourself, flawed in ways only meaningless and idealized to others. But you can't sustain yourself like that. What good is a building that can't hold its own weight? As for the idealization of a significant other and the concept of the chase, this is associated with the infatuation state of any relationship and lasts until familiarity overtakes such. People chase it because it carries unto itself a perceived high, excitement and risk. There's that chance of failure staved off only by your confidence and then ended on your terms. You're in control there, and there is nothing more satisfying than to maintain control. The deep hurt you feel is a discrepancy in your self-image, and you want to know how not to feel it, how to halt the trigger of your splitting. Base it on something unaffected by others. Until you can face it, sometimes we are liked, sometimes we won't be, but we'll still be okay. You will continue to avoid conflict. It's a habit now that has worked for some time, and it's now time to change this habit before 20 more years go by and you're still using an outdated coping strategy. Our next post comes from a familiar user, B-Music, who says, broke my ex-girlfriend's heart. 22M here. I dated a girl who was almost certain as BPD from past abandonment issues for 2.5 years. I didn't cheat on her. I never would have done that. But it was basically a narcissistic discard, you could say. I led her to believe that we had a very long-term future existed for us. Then I realised now deep down that I never felt that excited about it once I graduated college last year. She was already mentioning marriage at some point down the line, and that made my gut anxiety-ridden instead of excited. It definitely wasn't right. She was planning her entire life around me, and I was not feeling that strongly anymore. Not to mention her borderline traits with my narcissistic traits fueled a lot of toxicity. Once I realised I no longer wanted a super serious long-term relationship, I wanted to be single, figure out my life, get my career going, and eventually get some more casual dating experience, everything came crashing down. I had a nervous breakdown and basically just said I needed a break and that we couldn't talk for a while. This break never really ended though. I refused to respond to her much, and eventually, after many attempts to bring me back to normal, she called it off. It was my first ever relationship, so I'm trying not to be too hard on myself, but I realise I can't excuse my behaviour. It's really getting to me now, realising how screwed up it was, what I did. Don't get me wrong, the relationship needed to end and prevent further pain for both of us in the future. It's like I completely turned off empathy during the time of ignoring her. Don't get me wrong, the relationship needed to end to prevent further pain for both of us in the future. It's like I completely turned off empathy during this time of completely ignoring her. I honestly don't know if I ever want a serious relationship again. I don't even know if I should start to be trusted with someone else's heart. I'm excited to start casually hooking up, dating, once quarantine finally ends at some point. I would like to avoid hurting anyone like this ever again in the future though, so any advice from people who have been through something similar on either end would be appreciated. Let's get one thing clear. You let the relationship die in the manner because you were too afraid to confront them. If she has BPD, though, no form of confrontation or explaining would have solved this problem, only maybe eased your own guilt. Spin it however you like. Subsidise the pain by stating its necessity in her flaws. By all means, the universe marks on a curve. But that won't change the fact that you couldn't face them, and when you could act and when you could have been better, you didn't. Let's not inflate the issue though. Let's not go over the idea that you can never be trusted, because even you don't believe that. By your statement of I'm excited to start casually hooking up / dating once quarantine finally ends. You want to feel bad, you want to blame yourself and have it mean something, and do you know why? Because it hurt. Because you hurt yourself. Flagellation is an age-old remedy, but let's not act like you've reinvented the wheel by beating yourself up. Probably this was modelled by someone you know. How did it work out for them? You want to not give yourself a second chance, but you will because you must. Because the only thing worse than moving on uncaring is to wallow in pity. Take what you did, remember it, learn from it. And when we know better, we do better. But please don't lie to yourself that it defies your being. There's no soft way of putting it. You have to go on, take another chance,